Okay, so today I'm going to be changing the oil on my 1995 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. Now this is the 5.7 liter V8, 350 in it, and the process for this is exactly the same for 93 through 97, and also works the same if it's a Camaro, as long as it's a V8. They got the same motor. So everything you're going to need a jack, some jack stands, your filter, a ratchet, and on mine, I believe the drain plug is a 14 millimeter. So I'm using a 1/2 inch drive with a 14. And then your oil, some rags. And if you don't have a funnel, a piece of wax paper, like coupon sheet or something, will work fine for that. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna wanna jack up your car. And the process for this is pretty much the same for all cars. Just make sure you got it on a piece of the frame and not on any of this stuff, because this is just undercoating and it'll crack. So go ahead and jack the car up. And the way you use this jack is you just lift it up and down. And oh, I gotta tighten it. All right. You can see it going up. Now this is a heavy car just because of the size of the motor in it and transmission. Plus it's a convertible, that'll usually add a couple 100 pounds. This is also kind of a difficult car to change just because of how low it is to the ground and the location of the filter being so far tucked underneath. All right. And then once you got it good enough there, go ahead and slide your jack on there. Again, make sure you got it on the frame. And then I'm gonna go ahead and jack it up a little bit more and raise my jack stands up. Just one click. Nope, that's about as high as she goes. All right, now we're gonna let her down real easy. Always be very careful when you do this. All right, go ahead and lower your jack all the way. And then same procedure for the... All right, so we got the car jacked up, and oh, obviously you're gonna need a drain pan. Totally forgot that. You're gonna wanna take your lid off. Now, if you're doing this on a little bit of an incline, make sure that hole is going downhill from where you're going to be draining. So on this car, the drain pan, the oil pan is right there. You can see that's it. And you're going to want to take your drain plug off. So I'm going to go ahead and grab your ratchet, and then we're going to crawl under here. Gotta crawl. All right, so this is my drain pan. It's always best to do this when the car is cold, just because things get hot down here and you don't want hot oil pouring all over yourself. Now, first thing you're gonna do is this bolt right here is your drain plug. All cars have them. You just loosen it up and the oil will come pouring out. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen that up real quick. All right, so drain plug is loose. Now, oh, maybe not loose enough. There we go. Now, you're gonna just very slowly, because oil could shoot all over the place and you wanna be able to catch it in your drain pan. Oh, there it goes. Yep, just like that. And like I said, make sure your hole is going downhill. And that is very dirty oil. Been probably 3,000 since I changed it. And again, if you don't have that hole downhill from it, it'll all get your drain pan will overflow because it can't drain into the hole. All right, so while that's draining, you're just gonna let it drain for a little bit. All right, so that's pretty much done draining. That takes, you know, maybe like 2 minutes. And then after that, you take your oil filter off. Now, oil filter, that's it right there, the big black. It's just a cylinder, and you're just gonna want to this can be the hardest part if it's on there really tight or you can't get a good grip on it. On this car, it's pretty difficult because it's tucked so far back in there. It's always good to have gloves with some grip on them when you're, I am tightening it right now, my bad. So obviously lefty loosey. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen that one up. Now for this car, I have this oil filter cap. To get the filter off, it just snaps right into a regular ratchet, 1/2-inch drive on this one, and it fits right over the lid. And I'll show you how it's done. It's got grooves inside that grip the filter. It's just to make it easier for you to turn. So it's just like that, and then you turn it. Now, it'll only ever be hand tight, and I guess last time I did it a little bit more than hand tight. All right, got it nice and loose. Now you're gonna want to put your drain pan underneath of it again. Make sure the hose at the bottom of the slope. Catching, remember that's dripping out of the drain plug right there, so make sure you're catching that. Can't even get my cap off, and some extra will come out of the drain plug when you get this loosened up because it's releasing pressure. All right, you guys can get this. And any second it should come. There it goes. Okay, that's my filter. Now you're gonna wanna let it finish draining, and then you're gonna put a new filter on, put your drain plug back in, and fill it up with oil. Okay, so we got our new filter right here. Now this is a very important part. So you got this rubber gasket that goes all the way around. Now that keeps the filter on, and it also keeps the oil from spilling out all over the place. So what you wanna do is you wanna take your old filter, and you just want to go like this and get that oil all over the all over that gasket. Now you can do this with your fresh oil. It really doesn't matter. All it is just lubricating it up so it doesn't dry out, get a hole in it, that kind of a thing. Anytime you're ever putting any kind of rubber in a car, somewhere that's not going to be exposed, it's always a good idea to put some WD-40 on it, put some oil on it, just so doesn't dry out. So remember, always put oil on your O-ring around here. Okay. So once you crawl back under here, that right there is where your filter goes on. So you just take it by your hand, and you're gonna screw it on. All right, so the filter should be hand tight. So, I mean, it shouldn't move easily, but you don't want it to be so stuck on there that you can't get it off. So it's on there pretty good. Next up, you're gonna put your drain plug back in. Now this one, you do want to tighten with a ratchet. Doesn't have to get super tight, but because you want to be able to get it off again if you service your own vehicle. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my ratchet and tighten that one back up. All right, so I went ahead and tightened the drain plug up. Now, something good practice to do when you're done with your old filter is just put it in the box that your new one came with. Always dump it out in your drain pan. That way you can just throw it away in the trash and you're finished with it. Now, obviously, this is where your oil goes. It'll always say what kind of oil, 5W30. Now I only run conventional and not synthetic in my vehicle, just because of the age of it. Oh, dropped the cap. Anyway, like I was saying, I got my cap. Synthetic will, if you have an older vehicle, something that's been sitting for a while, anything like that, synthetic, it'll open up a lot of your valves a lot more, and your hoses and things like that. So if you have an older vehicle, things tend to kind of get cracked or get micro holes in them, and you'll start leaking all over the place. Now, if you already run full synthetic in it, continue to do so. And if it's a newer vehicle, do use synthetic. Just because of the age of this, I do conventional. It is harder to find now. I think this is the only brand. It's just O'Reilly's high mileage. Even though this car only has 40,000 miles on it, high mileage is never a bad idea. Man, can't get this thing off. It's never a bad idea. When you're taking these off, make sure you don't get any of that plastic fall into it, because if that gets in one of your cylinders, say bye-bye. So I just rolled up the wax paper. Now you can use that just because of the sleek surface of it. None of the oil will stick. None of it will stick or leak out of it just because it's so smooth. Now this car takes 4 quarts of oil, and then you just want to slowly pour your oil in. It's better to use a funnel, but if you don't have one, this works fine. I just can't find mine. So we're gonna go ahead and pour this in, and I'll check back with you. All right, I was mistaken. It does take 5 quarts of oil if you're gonna change the filter. Now, I did spill just a tiny bit, and it's always a good idea to wipe that up. It's not the end of the world if you do spill some, but when your engine bay gets hot, you will smell it burning, and that can always freak you out a little bit, especially when you just worked on your car, or you just change your oil and you smell oil burning. Makes you think you did something wrong. You're probably fine. You just might have spilled some, but it's always good to check just in case. Now, something that's always a good idea after you pour it in there is check underneath and make sure it's not pouring out. Make sure you got your filter and your drain plug on there safely. Again, there's my drain pan, so I would see it pouring out, and then my filter is right behind there, so I'd see oil coming out if I had put it on wrong. Now that you're done, go ahead and put your car down, and that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. Now, if you've never used a jack before, you gotta get it lined up again. You're gonna have to jack your car back up just a hair so you can pull that filter off. Let me tighten this up. It's not moving fast enough. Again, always make sure you're on metal. Well, and make sure it's part of the frame. It'll run the whole length of the vehicle most of the time. See that? All right. Just a hair, just enough where I can slide this out. Now, if you have a traditional floor jack like me, you're gonna have this little button right here. And you stick this in and turn it to the left. Again, very slowly. So you can watch it go down. All right. And do the same thing on the other side. Something I had failed to mention, if you turn this to lower the jack, always make sure you tighten it as tight as it'll get when you're putting it back, when you're lifting it. Otherwise, you're gonna lose hydraulic pressure and your car could fall. The jack could buckle under the weight. And then, go ahead and do this. Okay, now that you're finished, you want to dispose of your oil safely and legally. And the way you do that, a lot of most Advances or AutoZones, O'Reilly's, whatever, do have a drain tank. Just go to the counter, ask if it's full. If not, ask if you can dispose of your oil with them, and it's free to do. And then we're gonna go ahead and fire her up and see how she sounds. And she sounds good. And then always check underneath. Make sure you're not spilling oil. And we are good. All right, thanks for watching.